Okay, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Neighbors. Today we have Raz and Mae from Omars Shoes, and they are on the cover of the Mae neighbor paper along with their daughter, Sarah.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thrilled to be here.
Congrats on being on the cover of the paper. How's that feel?
That's exciting. May for May. I love it.
Yeah, hopefully. I saw the preview pictures, and it looks great. So it should be a good cover. I'm excited for it to come out. I figured we'd start with what shoes are you wearing?
Hey, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing very high heels, and I believe
They're Michael Kors.
they're Michael Kors.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I'm wearing Rockport comfortable semi-dress shoes. But we're not all just shoes. We're shoes and clothing
Yes,
nowadays.
of course.
So I'm wearing my Easter outfit with the pink and blue and yellow, all the
look like
Easter
little
eggs.
Easter eggs on you. Yeah, exactly.
I love the colors. The colors are going to pop nice too.
Thanks.
So let's start at the beginning of how did Omar start?
Okay.
Tell me the story.
Yeah, so we moved to Aurora in 1968. So my parents and my two brothers, so the five of us moved here in 68. My dad was involved in retail in South Africa, and he had a shoe store as well. He wanted to start a shoe store, and they looked for locations for where they could a retail space where they could come. And at that point, there were friends that were from South Africa, which is where we came from. They're all living in Toronto. And so my dad found a place available in Aurora and a place available in Pickering. And so he went to the Pickering one, met with the landlord, chatted with them. They only had so much money. They brought so much. They left their business there to the family there. And they met the Aurora landlord. And my dad and the Aurora landlord just hit it off really well. They had a great conversation. There was the landlord was a Jewish guy. My dad was Muslim. They talked about religion. They talked about South Africa, Canada. And at the end of the meeting, my dad said, sign the lease. He said, this is where we're going to be. Drove all the way back to Toronto with all his friends and told them, and I signed the lease. And where'd you sign? They go, Aurora. They go, Aurora? Like, why would you go to Aurora? It's like a little farm town. And so they kind of, badgered him a little bit and said, yeah, this is a mistake, Omar. This is a mistake. And he goes, oh, God, okay, maybe I made a mistake. The next day he calls the landlord and he says, David, I'd like to cancel the lease. And David says, Omar, I'm not sure what the laws are like in South Africa, but here when you sign a lease, you're committed. He says, but I'll tell you what, you come up, let's have another meeting. You come up, we'll have a quick meeting. And at the end of that meeting, if you decide that you don't want to be there, we'll tear it up. So my dad said, okay, great. He went up 2 days later, got to David. They chatted again. They stayed for like an hour and a half. And at the end of the lease, he says, this is where I want to be. I want to be in Aurora. So he packed up our family from Toronto and we moved to Aurora in 68.
68.
Yeah. In 69, so my parents put everything they had into that clothing store. It was a kids' clothing store. And my dad joined the tennis club. He wanted to get involved in the community. And so he was getting involved. And in 1969 was a Optimist fundraiser. And my dad had met some guys from the Optimist Club. And they said, Omar, why don't you come with your wife? We're having this big dance. And my dad said, sure. So he bought tickets. And the grand prize was a Cadillac. And lo and behold, who wins the Cadillac is my dad. So all the Optimist guys pick him up at the end of the night. They're running him around the auditorium, and they're all happy for him. And of course, they didn't have much money at all back then. And that was enough to help them inject a little bit into the business. Yeah. And a few months later, the shoe store in our plaza went bankrupt. And my dad used that money to put an offer in on the shoe store and changed the name from Delta Shoes to Omars Shoes. And that's the start of Omars Shoes. So 1970 is where we started Omars Shoes.
That's amazing. So 68, you moved to Aurora. How old were you?
So I was 5.
You were 5.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I'm pretty sure my grandpa was the mayor of Newmarket in 1968.
Really?
Yeah, my dad's dad. I never met him. He passed away when my dad was fairly young.
Right.
But 68, I'm pretty sure that was the date.
Yeah.
And it's a great story too. It's like community in the fabric of it right from day one, really, almost like to the launch of it.
Yeah.
That community involvement too, and that's a nice. That's nice. So funny. I had a conversation yesterday with a gentleman from the Optimist Club in Aurora.
Oh, okay.
Because they're celebrating. I can't remember the years.
Yeah.
55 years or something. 50 years.
Well, I know my dad was at a certain point was a president of the Optimist Club too. So, being involved in the community was always very important for him, and it's something we all learned because you embrace your community, and it works both ways. If you support your community will support you, and we've always tried to be involved in the community. And it's funny, our thinking is we never feel like we're doing enough, but we want to do stuff. We want to be involved. And of course, May loves to be involved.
I think a little bit of the history too for Omars is a lot of people just know about the shoe part. But I think where Raz's mom and dad got started was actually a little kids' clothing store.
Yeah.
And back in the day, what they would do is they would go down to Spadina, which was the hub of the wholesalers, and pick up a couple of outfits and snowsuits and stuff and come and sell it. And then with that money, they'd go back and pick up a few more things the week after and week after until they built relationships with companies. And so at that time, with the way transport was, there used to be a little bar next to the store. It was called the Four Shields. And a lot of the older Aurorans will remember this. And sometimes when gentlemen would get off the bus coming from Toronto from work, they'd go and have their quick beer at the bar before heading home. And then a couple of gentlemen, especially one, noticed the kids' clothing store. And he came in there and talked to mom and dad, and then went home and gave his wife some money. And he goes, tomorrow, make sure you go buy something from that store. And those became long life friends for mom and dad. And then that's how they built that relationship.
Yeah. And so store is going, it's built up. What's the journey of you two and how that comes together to be part of the business? And I know now we're in multi-generations of it. So talk about that kind of step of, was it always the vision, or how did that come about?
Yeah, there was a stage where we changed the kids' clothing store to become another shoe store, and it was Omars, and then we had a Mrs. Omars, and then there was an opportunity. The landlord came to us, the Four Shields, the restaurant. Actually, they had closed it up, and it sat empty for almost 3 years. And then the landlord came and joked to my dad and said, Omar, why don't you just put the two stores together and take the whole restaurant? And my dad laughed and goes, yeah, right. And then when he left, we actually thought about it. And we said, you know what? That would be a great opportunity to put the two stores together and make it a huge shoe store. So we, the landlord was great. We negotiated a fair lease rate, and we ended up it was 3 stores plus the restaurant, putting it together to create the largest family-owned shoe store, independent shoe store. It was actually in Ontario.
Wow. And
we just advertised it as the largest north of Metro because we didn't want to tout it too much.
Yeah.
And that's, May and I were married at that point. May came in the business, and it really was a family business. When we had kids, we had an area there where we had our playpens.
Yeah.
My mom had a little swing for the babies. So it really became a full family business. And that's where the next
Yeah,
generation came in.
We would have customers coming in just to come see the babies because we had this hammock tied between two doors. And up till today, customers remember that we'd have them in there sleeping and they'd walk by and give them a push for a swing. It was the thing to do, you know. So our kids were brought up in the business as well, you know.
So it just became natural that our kids started working in the store as young teens.
Yeah.
And, you know, how I feel is that they learned life skills in that store. They started from the bottom. So they did stock, they cleaned the bathrooms, they dusted, and they worked their way up. And then they understood all the different aspects of having your own business and what you have to do to make it run and make it be successful.
Yeah, that's the only way is to know exactly how to do every single role. It's the only way you're going to actually be able to operate it. And so where does it stand now? Is it they are handling lots of day-to-day more and more? Is it going to be a point where it's like, all right, go ahead? Or how do you feel about that? Think about that? Or is it just, you know, it's a family collective thing. Let's just all work at it together.
Yeah, two of our older kids have gone on to their own careers and they're in sales. And because of being in the shoe store, they've learned to communicate with people. So they've succeeded in sales.
Yeah.
Our youngest daughter, Sarah, decided that she wanted to do it. So she went to college and took retail management and learned more about it to be smarter than we are. And so Sarah, I think Sarah would love to continue the store and keep the legacy going. We're 55 years now, so hopefully she'll continue. You know what? In my dreams, I would love to work as long as I could. You know, at some point you want to slow down a little bit, but I don't want to retire. My dad never retired. He stayed right till, you know, he got sick and then he wasn't able to come to the store. So
I think it's a big part of our I mean, as much as it's work and puts food on a table, but it's also our social aspect. We've built such incredible relationships over the years.
Yeah.
And, you know, through people coming in, through building things, through helping out in the community, I think all of that has come together. So for me to think that I cannot go to work and not see people, and that kind of scares me. So again, I have no notion of wanting to slow down or stop completely.
Yeah.
But so many of our customers, like, you know, when you say customers, I think really what we have is we've built relationships. So our customers have become our good friends.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And it's partly through either our kids being involved with sports or school or them just coming in the store and we hit it off and you get along and you go out for dinner and you do different things. So, you know, it's that like a beehive and it's all linked and
Yeah, definitely. And it's at the center of kind of the world that you've built around you, right?
Yeah.
And like building a business is hard, but when you are the owners too, you can also design it so you enjoy most of your day. Obviously, there's going to be some aspects or some periods in the season of the year of my brain just goes to tax season. I'm like, ugh. But like where you could kind of hire people in roles to kind of alleviate those things, and you can just, you know, be customer facing and go in there. And
I would love that. Unfortunately, someone's got to do the backroom stuff. But I'll give an example. The other day we had, you know, 2 or 3 sets of customers came in, and I've got great staff that are there, but they wanted to interact with me. I wanted to interact with them. So my staff are standing there watching me help 3 different sets, and it was great because I've got great relationships with each one of them, right? So we're socializing at the same time.
Yeah,
they're getting what they need at the same time, and they're shopping local and they're shopping with an independent, you know, retailer. So they want to help the independent retailer, and now especially with all this shop local, shop Canadian as much as you can. That's, you know, that's important for our small community that we all try to do that. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And, you know, retail's gone through many ups and downs and changes and challenges.
Yeah.
Talk about a few challenges that you have faced being in the retail space, you know.
Sure. Our biggest challenge was COVID.
Yeah.
COVID almost destroyed us. And I've been pretty open with people to tell us that we took all of our life savings
Yep.
and took it out and reinvested it into the stores because we were dying. We were bleeding, and you had no income,
Yep.
and yet you still had to pay your rent. You still had to pay for all your inventory that you'd received. So we are so lucky that we got through COVID, and we're appreciative. And why? Because our community supported us and came to buy, whether they needed the shoes or didn't need the shoes, they came to support. And we're still in recovery mode.
Yeah.
And the other challenge that you have in retail is, once upon a time, it was just small towns and little businesses. Now it's online sales, and it's, all these big companies. And yes, they're taking a piece of our business, but we're still finding a way to survive. So through COVID, we had an online presence, and we made it bigger. We made it better. So now our online is growing and growing and doing much better than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So we have to do all those things. But a lot of people in the shoe business still need to try shoes on. So it's a little harder for them to buy online. They want to come into the store. They want to touch
Yeah.
and feel and do all that.
And people have, customers have done it. When we were shut, we would have people that would just come stand outside and buy something just because they wanted us to survive.
Yeah.
And then there were others that did the online thing and then came back to us and said, you know what, we bought stuff and oh my God, big mistake, because I can't wear that kind of stuff. I need to try it on. I need to fit it. I have this issue and I have that issue. And I think what makes us stand out a little bit more is the fact that we do a lot of product knowledge on our brands
With our staff.
with our staff. So if we bring in a brand or a new shoe with the technology, we don't just put it on the floor. We've got to educate our staff on why that is good for who and why that wouldn't work for certain people. And I think that's where we've built the trust, where you walk in the door and you look at a shoe and you go, okay, I want that shoe. And we'll look at your feet, we'll measure you, what have you, and we'll say, actually, that's not
This
going
might
to serve
be
your
better for you.
purpose
This one might not.
because this is actually going to do this for you or that for you.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, we have to keep up with product knowledge and giving that service. I mean, you can buy what we have. You can go out and buy it anywhere.
Yeah.
But we'll get a lot of customers that come in and say, well, I bought this pair of Birkenstocks. I've worn Birkenstocks forever. Have they changed something? And I will say, okay, did you get it from us or what have you? And they'll go, no, but we were on vacation and I needed a pair and I bought it. And the difference is that what we'll tell you is, oh, no, you're actually wearing a narrow. You should be wearing a wide.
Yeah.
Oh, but I thought all 37s were the same. No, they're not. There's, the difference. So it makes a difference in the footbed. It makes a difference in where your arch is sitting, that sort of stuff. And the width of the shoe.
Yeah, experience. And
So that sort of stuff we have to stay on top of, and that's what keeps us going and alive and survive, really.
Yeah. Like, it's how do you continue to be a leader when there's all this competition that's popping up too? But I think that you've touched on multiple pieces there. One, customer relationships. That's going to be at the core of it, right? People want to see you and want to support you, so they're going to come and see you for a visit and in a shop as well too. And then as well, customer education, which you're not going to get unless people are actually educated and they care about, the user experience or the customer experience too. Yeah. I think those are going to be the most important. And then, have good selection, right? Yeah. And then have those three and just do that at a very, very high level. And, no matter how much competition comes, you'll build enough to thrive. How do you decide what products or brands to bring in to the store? What's that process like?
So we do a lot of research. We we go to events, go to trade shows, and we keep our ear to the ground. So we hear of new brands that are coming, that are just getting on the market. I'll use one brand. So Birkenstocks, we've been carried for over 50 years now, right?
Yeah.
And when we first started with Birkenstocks, my dad, it was Mr. Birkenstock selling them out of his trunk of his car.
Yeah.
And my dad bought them. And he said to my dad, you're going to try this. It's going to take a little bit to get used to. And, he says, I'll leave you with a couple pairs and I'll come back in a month or two. My dad tried them for 2 weeks, didn't like them, put it away. A week later, he pulled back out and he slowly got used to them. When he came back a couple months later, my dad said, these are incredible.
Yeah, you got to wear those ones in. You got to like sweat a little bit in them.
But
that
and then it just grew from there. And then now I'll use another. So about 15 years ago, On Running was a new brand, came out. We saw it.
15 years ago?
Yeah, it's about 15 years now.
I feel like they've just really kind of like
they've really hit it big in the last 5.
5, yeah.
Right. So, so the reason we looked at them is they were a running shoe that was trim looking. It was developed by a triathlete that made a shoe that you could use for running. You could get it on and off real quick because it had elastic open and closure. So it was quick to get on and off. So it was perfect for a triathlete. And I was looking at it because I was having a lot of knee issues, and the bending down and up and to lace up shoes was too much work. So we brought it in because it just made a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
And it was a neat looking running shoe. So it got to the point where I had 5 colors in it. And then May got a pair, the staff got pairs, and customers had no idea this brand.
Yeah.
But they'd come in and see us wearing it, and we would tell them
Must be
about
good.
it. So then they get them. Now, forward, another 10 years later, and my son and I went to the Masters, and we were lucky enough to get to go for a day there. And after that day, first thing I do is look at what are people wearing all the time. And half of them were Nikes, and almost half were Ons.
Yeah.
So I came back, I called my On rep, and I said, are you guys giving away On shoes in the U.S.? He says, no, Raz, we
are crushing it.
We have exploded.
Yeah.
And that was about 5-6 years ago where they had exploded. And On right now is huge, right? We can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
So we're always looking for that new brand. We added Hoka about
big running shoe,
about
right?
5 years ago, and they have exploded. So we're lucky we got onto On, we got onto Hoka, and now Hoka is not opening accounts for any more retailers because they can't supply enough for the retailers that they have right now. We did that once before. May you can tell Miles about we were down in the States and we saw Crocs.
Yeah.
Right?
We were in the States. We went to probably one of the largest, I would say, one of the largest shows in the world, basically. And we would go to this every year. And you know what, as fun as it sounds, it's grueling because you walking for days and hours and you seeing thousands and thousands of brands. And then we saw Crocs. And the big thing about Crocs was, of course, first I was like, oh my God, these are hideous things. But then the selling point to Crocs was the fact that at that time they were selling it as you could wear it as into hospitals. They don't pick up any bacteria. You can rinse them. You can wear them in the garden, whatever. And they were light as anything. So we decided to give it a go. And gosh, how many Crocs did we?
I think at the peak of Crocs, the one summer we sold, I think it was 9,000 pairs in a summer.
Wow.
And at that Aurora Street Festival, we had them there. And I think we sold like probably 1,000 pairs that day.
Wow.
So it was just wild. Yeah. So we went from a brand that was not recognized and we tried it and we just grew. And you grow fast sometimes. But it doesn't always work. Sometimes you pick a brand and it doesn't work.
For sure.
And then what we liked about it was we found out that it was assembled in Quebec.
Yeah, in Canada.
Yeah, in Canada. That's where it started off. Yeah. And then the next year we went, the whole gibbet thing came out.
Yeah.
And the story we heard about gibbets was a lady at a pool, and she had her daughter there and had Crocs, and she had gone to Michael's and bought some stuff and made a gibbet kind of thingy for the Crocs for the holes. And somebody from Crocs had seen that, and she sold this business for a couple of million to Crocs eventually, which then became the biggest thing. So all of these little stories. And so about branding is great if you know about the brand. But what we like to do, and what I especially love to do, I like to hear the story behind the brand, the family, and that sort of stuff. So when I talk to my customers, like I love sharing the fact that the shirt Raz is wearing is from a local family in Toronto, right? And where the fabric's from, Turkey, that sort of stuff, how he got started. Again, I started carrying the brand maybe about close to 15 years ago, I would say. And I had maybe 2-3 styles in the store maximum. Today, I've probably got about 40, 50 styles in the store from them because, so I do outsource and I do like to look for Canadian as much as possible. So if you come in my store, I got a ton, of course, not made in Canada because they can't afford to anymore. But a lot of it is made in Turkey.
Companies.
Yeah, companies.
Yes.
So Canadian, exactly, designers or companies that I look and outsource.
It's probably the branding wave is probably getting stronger and stronger now because of selection and like ability to create product is becoming easier and easier. Where having those authentic stories behind the building of the business, those are becoming the forefront stories that kind of drive business.
They're neat stories.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking of like those kind of waves that you get to ride, like a Crocs wave or a Jibbitz wave, but as well too those bets that don't also pay out too. Especially, so I had summer skates was a business of mine, which was a flip flop with hockey laces, right? And even just for us, like footwear, like SKUs, like it's like sizes and variations. It's like, so it's like, oh yeah, you want to come out with this color? Well, and we did like extra small, medium, large. So we could cover like a size and a half in each one. But just thinking of like the inventory and the levels and, all the management of that for you guys.
See, you get it. Yeah. You were on that side, so So now we're looking at thousands and thousands of different ones. And how do you choose what color, what's going to work? And sure, we've picked our eggs along the way, for sure, When I first got married, one of the most hilarious things was I worked in the city first for a few years before I got into the business. And it was summer came around and I came into the store one day and there was the smell. And they're like, what is this? And then they go, okay, it's the leather sandals. It was those hard toe thong buffalo, they call them buffalo sandals.
Or Jesus sandals.
And with the toe thong, and they were from India, right? But every kid wanted those things. And they were I think about $12 or $14 a pair, right? Back in the day. And then I noticed one day Raz putting a bucket of water outside the door because people would come by them hard as hell, put them on the foot, go outside and soak their feet in water to mold them to get them soft again, right? And I was like, this is insane what people would do, right?
Yeah.
So, you got to be. I mean, we went through that wave. Then we went through the Doc Marten wave. Oh, my God, that was insanity, the list of, the cartons we would be opening up. So, I mean, you go through those waves, and unfortunately, that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, no.
But when you're on the right track and it works, it's amazing.
Yeah, you got to be constantly paying attention, what's going on, what are the trends. Okay, so let's talk about this event that's coming up, the fashion show.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a fun one for sure. So, open floor for it. Tell me about the event, what people can expect. We got Omar's Fashion Thru the Ages.
Right. So basically, how this all began was almost a year ago, I was thinking up that our 55th year was coming up. And because of COVID, we couldn't really do anything for our 50th, and we had moved our locations. And so I thought, you know what? I don't want to do like this big cake thing and what have you. How do we give back to the community? And I look at Southlake as always being our hospital, not just Newmarket's hospital. I mean, it serves so many towns around us. So I met with Southlake and I said to them, I have an idea of maybe doing a fashion show. I'm not sure in what capacity, but I hope that we can do it in a big way. And I don't know if you guys can support us. And this is my idea. And I wanted to do it for mental health because I thought, that's something where we don't talk enough about as much as, we should
Cancer,
be.
heart, everything
And
else.
exactly. And so they said, okay, and they were just, let's do this. Seriously, you want to do? I go, yeah, 100%. And then came October or so, and we started meeting, building a committee with the hospital, and started talking. Lynette, I had met Lynette somewhere, and of course, Lynette's just, you got me, let's do this. And then Sandra Ferry from the chamber said, oh, I want to be part of this. And I found my two powerhouses, which was just incredible, right? And then Raz and I were going away to South Africa. And for the first time in 10 years with our kids were all joining us, our little grandbaby, we were going for a family event, a wedding. And a week before the wedding, Raz had some tests done, medical tests done, and the doctors called us in. And of course, gave us the news that Raz has got prostate cancer. So we were really on a downward spill. No, we're not going to go on this trip, what have you. And the doctor said, no, you need to go on this trip. Everything is closed right now. Anyways, when you come back, we'll deal with this. So on our trip, I had, mentioned it to Lynette and the rest of the group, Southlake. And I think Lynette and Sandra said, why don't we change the focus to men's health? And Raz was like, no, I really don't want to talk about this and what have you. And as we on this trip, and as Raz is talking to his buddies at hockey, from whatever, and finding out how many guys don't get checked.
Mm-hmm.
And then finding out how many people actually are dealing with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just did a whole 360 and he said, you know what? No, we got to make this about awareness because this is frightening. And I said this was the same sort of story with breast cancer once upon a time where it was like, didn't talk about it much, or ovarian cancer, or what have you. So he said, we got to do something. And so our focus then became men's health. And so now we've got this incredible event on May 20th at the Royal Venetian. It's going to be a fun night of music. A good friend of mine, Steve Falk, is going to be the band there. We're going to have a DJ, dinner, and we've got some local celebrities that are going to be in the fashion show, including you. So I hope you've been practicing your walk.
Yeah, with the baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's basically it. And you know what's amazing? The only way I can describe this is the community has put a blanket over us and with support. And everybody's come out and everybody's wanting to do something. And we've got great sponsorship and ticket sales are going great.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can say that we're just overwhelmed with the response from the community of people that just want to be at the event.
Yeah.
And it's friends, it's customers, it's some people we don't even know. But they hear it's a great cause. We don't really toot our horn too much, but a few people have reminded us, no, it's a huge deal. 55 years that you've been in the community is a big deal. It is something to celebrate. So we're embracing that and we're going, you know what? It's going to be a fun night. It's all for a great cause. Everything that's raised is going to go to the hospital.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a great event too. And the thing with a well-executed event, it's a great celebration, but it gives you a good spotlight to kind of raise awareness too. And like you had mentioned too, obviously it's a tough thing that you're going through, but I'm sure as you've seen, like more and more people have, like my dad went through it 2 years ago, kind of same thing, because kind of outwear, and then you're just on this journey of going through that, and it can weigh heavy. And then it's just an education of like to get jacked, right? Yeah. Which, what is it, PSA?
Yeah.
Why isn't that on just the standard test?
That's right.
Come on, let's go. That should be the like.
So one of my guys at hockey, because through this chatting, people have come up to me and you're talking, and I've talked to so many guys that are close to my age that have never been tested.
Yeah.
And one of the guys at hockey said to me, okay, so what do I need to do, Raz? And I said, well, just go to your doctor. Please get checked. If this is the, someone said, let's take lemons and let's make lemonade. So let's get the good out of this is the education. Go get tested. He said, okay, what do I need to do? I said, go talk to your doctor, ask him to get a PSA. I said, you'll have to pay for it. And he looked at me and he goes, what do you mean you have to pay for it? It should be included.
Yeah.
So it's not included.
Yeah, no.
Right? You do have to pay extra, but it's something that we have to do. So it's $25 or something like that.
I can't understand how this is not
A standard on the blood test.
standard on the blood test. Like, why one more block to check?
Yeah.
Like, what does it take that
Think of all the early detection that would have occurred if it was just a standard.
So in my case, Miles, I've been going for quite a few years and I've had my results. And, I went from being 2.2 to a 3.3 to a 8.
Yeah.
And then they checked it again and it was an 8. And that's when, all the
flag goes up.
And that's it. And then it got to the point where it went even higher. So they're saying it's a very aggressive cancer. So it's moving very quick. So early detection is so important, right? So if we can get this message out to people that please get checked. And guys are the sort, we're all like this. Oh no, we're good. But if you get it too late, it's too late. Right?
Yeah.
And we do know a couple of people that it was too late for them. And it's not even about the maturity of the age. We finding out there's the younger and younger men that are dealing with, as we found someone
in his 20s.
Yeah, in his early 20s.
Yeah,
that we were talking to family. And I was like, really? Are you kidding me? And then they started listing people that they know. And then as I'm talking recently, I was talking to a sales rep of mine. She goes, oh, yeah, my brother. He had his first kid, went in, and they found out he had prostate cancer. So I'm like, why is this not a standard? Like, it's frustrating, right? It's that
I'm
one
sure it comes
extra
down to
block.
dollars and cents.
For sure, but you know what?
But more awareness.
Yeah.
The $25 is worth spending. Please spend
exactly.
it. Okay.
It's like, one, go to your doctor, get checked up.
Yes.
Two, once you're in there, just
Ask
pay
for
$25 and get
And
get
that's
that.
why it's key as well. At the night of the event, we've got a doctor that will be talking about it, and and hopefully we can keep promoting this and educate. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I'm excited for the event. Obviously, I'll be walking, modeling.
Yeah.
I'll probably have to dance a little bit just because of nervousness. Thank you so much for coming on. We're excited to have you on the cover.
Thank you. Thank you. We're thrilled, and we really appreciate you guys
having
us out and letting us sit and tell people about the awareness of prostate cancer.
Absolutely. We'll put all for the event in the show notes and everything, and we'll clip it up, and it's going to be, get your tickets soon because it's going to sell out 100%.
Yes,
so.
please get your tickets soon. Yeah, they are selling out fast. So
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Miles.
See you guys.